behalf of the Education Division, Niti, I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone for the launch of the policy report on internationalization of higher education in India, prospects, potential, and policy recommendations. We are delighted to have in our midst today Shri Suman Berry, Vice Chairman, Niti Aayog, Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul ji, Member Education, Niti Aayog, Dr. Arvind Virmani ji, Member, Niti Aayog, Shri India Subramaniam ji, CEO, Niti Aayog, Dr. Vineet Joshi ji, Secretary, Department of Higher Education, Dr. Sitaram ji, Chairman, AICTE, and Dr. Raghunathan, Dean, Global Engagement, IIT Gujarat. Inspired by the ancient heritage of India as the global leader in higher education and committed to the vision of a Viksit Bharat at 2047 of becoming the global hub of talent, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, this is probably the first of its kind policy report on internationalization of higher education in the global south. It is an outcome of year-long research, analysis, and extensive stakeholder consultations, national and international, undertaken by Niti Aayog in collaboration with our consortium of knowledge partners led by IIT Gujarat and including the Association of Indian Universities and Acumen India. The report is accompanied by a policy brief that provides a snapshot of the 22 policy recommendations and over 75 action pathways for implementation. I would now like to invite Dr. Sonia Pant, Program Director Education, Niti Aayog, to make a presentation on the context and the content of the report.
Thank you, Shashank. Honorable Vice Chairman, Niti Aayog, respected members, Dr. V.K. Paul and Dr. Arvind Virmani, respected CEO Sir, respected Secretary Higher Education, respected Mr. Sitaraman, and our partners who have helped us in jointly doing this report, members of the press, seniors from Niti Aayog, my dear friends, it gives me a great pleasure to be in front of you, making a brief context presentation for this report. And I can vouch for the fact that this report has involved a lot of hard work from our side as well as from our collaborating partners. And giving a broad context of the work that we are doing, I think we need to understand, and we all would agree, that India is at the cusp of a transformative opportunity to position ourselves as a global provider of quality, affordable, and technology-enabled education, higher education. And this vision of internationalization of higher education is deeply embedded in the objectives of our education policy, in our vision to become a developed nation by the centenary year of our independence. And for this, we need a comprehensive strategy which not only builds on India's intellectual capital, but also strengthens our global network and opens up avenues for India to establish itself as a leader in higher education as well as a research hub. So we all know that India is the second largest higher education ecosystem in the world, the largest being China, and we have around 1,200 universities, around 45,000 colleges in India, and nearly 4.5 crore students in this ecosystem. However, despite being the second largest ecosystem in the world, our footprint in terms of global or our global footprint or our internationalization footprint is relatively small. And it wouldn't be incorrect to say that only 0.1% of its student base is comprising of international students. This is despite the fact that the domestic policy landscape ecosystem is evolving, and it is anchored on the NEP and reinforced by the UGC guidelines on internationalization and other regulations such as the framework for international higher education institutions in the GIFT city, and these are strong foundations to actualize this vision. Also, if we were to look at this from the point of the macroeconomic case, then also the case for this work is very strong. And we were looking at the data from the RBI remittances, and we found that annual remittances, outward remittances from India have increased more than 20-fold in the last 10-year period. And this does not really capture the other expenditure which goes into education logic. If we were to look at that, we find that India definitely is a net importer in this area. And there is an opportunity for import substitution because a lot of our students go abroad. And there is also an opportunity for export promotion. So there is a massive requirement for such work, and Niti has tried to bridge in this gap in the existing ecosystem by the way of this study. Yeah. So this is the report outline of the work that we have done, and you will see that the first chapter is on context setting, provides the objectives and the methodology. The second pillar of work that we have done is we have looked at international and national approaches to internationalization, and then we have gone and done a trend analysis or a temporal analysis using the existing data to study what are the trends on the international student mobility. We have looked at various global academic mobility and talent attraction programs. We have also seen various models of international academic collaboration. We have studied various models of international research collaboration as well as curriculum collaboration. We have looked at branch campuses of higher education and also looked at Indian offshore campuses. All of this work leads to the final chapter 9, which provides extensive policy recommendations. So this is our methodology of research. You can see from this slide that it is a mixed method approach. We have used a combination of both quantitative and qualitative research methods. So around 160 Indian HEIs from 24 states were taken up, and they were, so our comprehensive online survey of around 100 questions was posed to them, and they kind of responded to this. In addition, we have KIIs with experts and representatives of nearly 30 institutions, international institutions across 16 countries, including countries like Australia, France, Germany, Ireland, etc. We had a very big national workshop with more than 140 participants. India, and there was also a transnational education roundtable in UK where we were represented. And in addition to this work, I think what is important is also the temporal analysis that has been done using various secondary data that is available, whether it is through iShare reports or Ministry of Education reports of various think tanks. And this temporal analysis will be presented by Shashank, and he kind of give the entire flavor of the work that has been done. Additionally, I think another very important highlight for this report that we have done is we've tried to give you projections for international student mobility for the short term, which is 2030, medium term 2035, and long term 2047, using two different approaches, looking at the comprehensive annual, compound annual growth rate, CAGR approach, and also looking at the intensity of internationalization. And based on those two approaches, we tried to come up with a number, an aspirational number, that can be targeted or that can be aspired that for us in this sector. So the report in all comprises of 22 policy recommendations, 76 action pathways, 125 performance success indicators, and it studies 30 Indian and global best practices. So over to you, Shashank, for the details.
Thank you, madam. I'll now provide a quick overview to some of the key insights that were gained in the process of this research and its analysis. The international student mobility, a global temporal overview. If we look at the international student mobility trends across the globe, between 2001 and 22, there has been a 214% increase from 22 lakhs to 69 lakhs. And this increase has been in phases, a decadal growth, then there is some kind of country level focus, then there is an increase in global demand, then there is again a minor decline due to COVID, and again the pent-up demand after 22 has been picking up. These are key country level findings from 6 major countries. On the top left is US, where international student enrollment has increased by 15% in the last 10 years to almost 11.26 lakh students. Of these, nearly 30% are from India. In Australia, the increase has been 62% in 10 years, and now they have 4.37 lakh international students. What is important to note is international students in Australia contribute nearly 2% of Australian GDP in 23-24, which is a staggering Australian dollar 51 billion. For the European Union, India is the third largest source country. Latvia, Ireland and Germany have the highest number of Indian students. Canada has been one of the fastest growing destinations, with 42.9% of its international students originating from India. In Canada too, international students contributed 1.2% of its GDP, about 30 billion Canadian dollars. Japan has seen a 93% increase to 3.36 lakhs, but only 0.5% are from India. And lastly, China, there has been an interesting reduction of about 87% in China for international students, down from 3.77 lakhs to 2 lakhs. It is the second, however, it is the second largest source country with over 7 lakh Chinese students moving abroad. These are quick insights on the temporal overview of Indian students' mobility. There has been an increase from about 7,000 to nearly 47,000 students in India in the last 20 years across 3 different phases. These are the top source countries of international students coming to India, with Nepal accounting for nearly 1/3 of the total students coming to India. The top 10 states with international student enrollment in India. Karnataka has seen a decline by 55% from 13,000 to about 6,000. Tamil Nadu has also seen a marginal decline. However, Punjab has seen a 300% increase in international students studying in their universities, from about 1,300 to nearly 6,000. Delhi and Maharashtra have a stable overall presence. Odisha and Haryana have emerged as new and important destinations for higher education for international students. And West Bengal and Telangana in the last 10 years have dropped out of the top 10 states with international students. Dr. Sonia has mentioned about our inbound mobility projections. Based on the global benchmarking approach, these are the numbers that we anticipate in 2030, 2035 and 2047. And based on the internationalization intensity approach, these are the numbers with in 2047, if about 1% of all student base in India were to be international students, the target international students in India would be about 8 lakh, because the total student base at that time is expected to be about 8 crore. Outbound mobility of students from India has seen about 100% increase from nearly 7 lakhs to 13.3 lakhs, with a compounded annual growth rate of 8.4%. These are the top source states of Indian students going abroad. Andhra Pradesh has increased from 46,000 to 62,000. Punjab reduced from 60,000 to 33,000. Maharashtra is reduced from 45 to 29. Gujarat has moved from the 6th place to the 4th place. Tamil Nadu and Delhi remain significant contributors. And Karnataka, Kerala and UP consistently feature with the top 10 states that send their students overseas for higher education. As Dr. Sonia has already mentioned, these are some economic implications of outbound student mobility. In the last 10 years, there has been a 2,000% surge in outward remittances based on RBI's liberalized remittance scheme for Indian students studying overseas. Industry reports estimate that Indian students overseas spend about 6.2 lakh crore rupees, which is nearly 2% of India's GDP. This accounts both for tuition and living expenses. And when calculated in terms of India's overall trade deficit in 24-25, this amounts to nearly 75%. Geopolitical implications: for every 1 international student coming to India, 28 go abroad, which is a significant brain drain for the country. 8.5 lakh of the 13.5 lakh Indian students are just in 4 countries: Canada, US, UK and Australia. And 16 lakh individuals have renounced Indian citizenship since 2011. And this risks dependence on foreign knowledge ecosystems, as advanced R&D is largely pursued abroad by high potential Indian students after completing their higher education. These are some key survey findings. These are the top 5 primary goals for internationalization that Indian HEIs have espoused. This is the impact of internationalization on Indian HEIs. You see the impact on learning and employability, and you also see the impact on programs and development. However, there are significant challenges that Indian HEIs face in attracting international students. These have been collated based on responses we have received from over 160 Indian universities and colleges to a detailed 100-question survey. Indian offshore campuses has been a new and fresh development in our ecosystem. These are the list. This is the list of the private and public universities that have established campuses overseas. For almost 20 years, or I would say for almost 30 years, private universities in India took the lead of establishing overseas campuses. However, in the last 3 years, we've seen Indian public institutions, including IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, IIT, IIM, and the National Forensic Sciences University establishing campuses overseas. We've also had international branch campuses establishing their base in India. University of Southampton has established its campus here in Delhi. This is the list of 16 international institutions that have established or have signed LOIs to establish their campuses in India over the next 2 years. I will now request Dr. Sonia Khan to conclude with our key policy recommendations.
Thank you, Prashant. And these are some of the flagship policy proposals which we will explain in detail as we go through our presentation. So the first one is on Bharat Vidya Kosh. Second is on Vishwa Bandhu Scholarship. Then third one on Vishwa Bandhu Fellowship, Bharat Vidya Manthan, Bharat Vidya Samvad, Bharat Ki Aan, and aayog framework. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, our report is making 22 policy recommendations spread over 5 themes, which include strategy, regulation, finance, branding, communication and outreach, and curriculum and culture. So, the first one is on strategy, and there are 2 broad ideas that are promoted in the report. The first one is to develop a comprehensive strategy for implementation of internationalization of Indian higher education. Needless to say, this will be in accordance with Niti 2020 and our vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Secondly, to promote creation of global higher education hubs through an ecosystem approach. Then we move on to the second pillar, which is regulation, and here we are proposing the first is to ensure ease of regulation for inbound and outbound student mobility. Needless to say, until students are able to move in and out freely, this entire report cannot be implemented. Second is to ensure ease of regulation for establishing standalone onshore campuses in India. So, with the student mobility, there should be institution mobility as well. Third is permitting campus within a campus model with sunset clause for foreign HEI. Then promoting GIFT IFSC as a global hub for onshore campus, because this is an initiative which is already started and doing well. Then expanding NIRF to include internationalization as a metric for global competitiveness. This will kind of signal to the institutions to look at internationalization more proactively and create a framework for multilateral grouping to encourage regional mobility. This is the aayog framework which is there in the flagship. So we move to finance. Again, there are 4 broad ideas that we are saying. First is Bharat Vidya Kosh, which is a national research sovereign wealth impact fund. Next is Vishwa Bandhu Scholarship, which is establishing flagship scholarship programs to enhance student mobility. Next is Vishwa Bandhu Fellowship, which is for global talent attraction, and this would help us in engaging world-class researchers, faculty and professionals. And lastly, leverage bilateral and multilateral joint research funds to advance internationalization. On the BPO, or branding, communication and outreach, first is we need to target individual countries, so we need to develop individual country-specific BPO strategies, creating university-specific BPO strategies for high-potential source markets. Then Bharat Ki Aan, which is creating an Indian alumni ambassador network. We see that alumni play a very important role in terms of not only getting finances but also promoting the institution as such. Launching a flagship annual international higher education conclave, Bharat Vidya Manthan, promoting global academic research and exchange programs, and revamping study in India as a one-stop solution for international students with study-based internships. I think that's terribly important. The last one is on curriculum and culture, which speaks about fostering curriculum of innovation and capacity building, embedding industry engagement and internships into the curriculum, enhancing multicultural experiences at the Indian university campuses, and integrating global approaches within Indian culture and philosophy in teaching and research. So that is all from our side, and I'd like to ask Prashant to take this.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia Khan. I would now like to request Dr. V.K. Paul sir.
Anything had in this research action in this area, but the pathways on how to do it in an active and proactive manner, in an aspirational manner that India deserves and for which the time has come, had been unclear. This is where this report fills the gap. and it brings together a very deep work, as we just heard, and we've highlighted important recommendations. For me to repeat them, we'll get the report to look at it. But I wish to thank our partners, knowledge partner, IIT Madras, represented here. Very pleased to also acknowledge the work that has been done by the Association of Indian Universities and Acumen India. I had the privilege of giving track of the work, but also to be present at the workshop at IIT Madras, which was very, very informative. And we had very important, very informed key stakeholders in the meeting. Clearly, one aspect that needs additional work is not just regulation to be okay, but also an interministerial community system, the stewardship system, which the work we have to start. It should be our endeavor that we envisage 1 lakh students, international students across our large Indian universities ecosystem, including the state public universities, by 2030. That's one aspiration that we would like to put on the table. And shall I say 10 lakh by 2040. 8 is not a good number. That's pitch for 10 lakh by 2040, but surely the proof of pudding would lie if you can pitch this number from 47,000 to 1 lakh in the next 2 to 3 years and demonstrate that we are creating an ecosystem, we're working hard to attract international students into our nation. This is an integral to our benchmark that we wish to achieve as a digital Bharat, as a digital. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to request our Vice Chairman, Shri Suman Ji, to deliver the keynote address.
Well, thanks first of all to the team that has prepared this report under the supervision of my distinguished colleagues, Dr. Paul, Dr. Birmani, CEO, Niti, Dr. Niti Joshi, the Department of Higher Education, the Chairman, AICTE, and the Team Global Engagement, IIT Madras, you are all welcome. But I think that the level of turnout here is an indication that we've touched on a nerve that in which there's a great deal of interest. The content of the report has been shared with you. I would just like to make 2 or 3 additional points. Unfortunately, I have a hard stop, a meeting that has been convened, so I'll not be able to stay for whatever discussion takes place. But I think an attempt has been made to create what I might call a cost-benefit case for internationalization of higher education in India. But I think the record shows that there is very much a business case, but there's also, a diplomatic case. And what do I mean by that? Which is that internationalization of education is, as we've seen, a very is this the way? Yeah. There's the doctor in the house, you can see. Has been a very important instrument for the projection of soft power. And certainly, as I travel the world, there is immense curiosity about India and the India model. Maybe in an era of climate change, it's inappropriate to use the imagery that India is cool, but the fact of the matter is that for reasons connected with the tireless efforts of Honorable Prime Minister, India is cool, and people are interested to know what makes this place tick. And so I would just say that opening our doors to accommodate that interest outside is something that we ought to be doing, are doing, but need to scale up. I think the second point I would make, and this is more on the business side, but it's also, I think, on the cultural side, was Peter Van Lees was here as the High Commissioner for Australia a long time ago, when I was still at NCAR, and he went on to write the Van Lees review of India's engagement with Australia. And I think he was the first to really focus on the education sector as a linchpin of an interaction between Australia and India. And as somebody who had my own university education in the UK, I mean, I think that set of relationships existed for kind of historical reasons. But the point I want to make is being purposive about this is what the report is about. And the fact that the private sector has been in the vanguard, that the IITs are now with official support going abroad, all of this is to the good. I guess my third point is, I will read the report carefully. I looked at it in contributing a message about where the responsibility lies and really how the institutions and government need to work together. Because I think this needs to fit into the business plans of individual universities, particularly those in the private sector, and I think Thomas is probably representing that group. But it must take place in a facilitating framework, and I think we're not used to thinking of PPPs as a model, but that is the kind of model that we're going to have to aim for. I think perhaps the trickiest dimension of this is going to be the link between education and employment. What we know is that, people who had traditionally gone on F1 visas to the US were looking forward no longer perhaps for their H1B. There were similar attractions, I think, in the UK. I'm less aware of what is or was on offer in Japan, but I think that if we were to restrict the engagement entirely to the educational stage, we would probably lose out on the competition. And whether the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Education have thought through that set of linkages, I think is something that Niti will need to take forward. So I would say for a few minutes, and certainly be here for the launch, but let me compliment CEO at Niti and the team and Dr. Paul for giving this a shining light in an area which needed it, but I think the job has just begun. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I invite the other distinguished guests to address us, we first have the launch of the report. And I request all the dignitaries to please fill the ribbon and release the report form.